By the time Dalton sat up from Sherry Willis's bed to stretch his legs, the sun was starting to peek over the old building that made up the French Quarter. Their ashtray was full, and Bradshaw's throat hurt from the long story and the chain smoking that had fueled it. Shit, Dalton. I had no idea you were holding all that in. I know you lost your partner and all, but shit. I can see why you never go back to your apartment these days. Dalton was staring forward, his eyes not locking on any one thing. He spoke in a distracted, dreamy manner. I never did tell him the story about why I left the NOPD. I'd have a few beers with him that night, tell him all the details. He was a pain in the ass, Sherry. But he was my friend. He deserved better than to be shot in the head by some fuck-up cop. I bet if we dig deeper into things, we'll find that the cop that shot Simon was one of Sawyer's patients too. You said that tape recorder mentioned the red is for hate, right? And the screen on the computer went solid red before the cop shot him. Can't ignore that connection. The problem we have now is getting to Sawyer. I'd be willing to bet $1 million that after Sawyer was killed, that warrant wound up in Hardy's hands. But that same million a second time that Hardy made that warrant vanish. If the truth lies with Sawyer, the brass in Mandeville is not going to help us get him legally. We get to him some other way. It's not like this guy is in hiding. Yeah. Unless we do this by the book, anything we could get might be worthless in court. I've seen many a scumbag walk free because the dumbass cop investigating the crime screwed around with due process. I don't know. But I do know that I'm exhausted, Dalton. Let's get some sleep and look into this tonight. I'm sure we can do something. Yeah, sure thing, darling. I'm fighting to keep these old eyes open right now, too. Dalton leaned over and kissed Sherry on the mouth. She smiled. Thank you for sharing your story with me. Really. I know it sucks. Having your partner and all, but think of me as your partner now. A partner with benefits. Hey, Sherry. Just so you know, I do value you. I don't want you to think otherwise. I don't think I'd be doing as well as I am right now without you. Okay, lover boy. Don't get all sappy on me. Go to sleep and fight some crime after we recharge our batteries. Good night. Or morning. Or whatever. Dalton said as his mind struggled more to remain focused. Sherry rolled over, and within less than a minute, Dalton fell into a restful slumber. In his sleep, he dreamed. Dalton walked down a deserted street. He recognized it right away, though. He was walking down Chart Street in the French Quarter. His old beat from the days with the NOPD. It was nighttime in his dream, and the music could still be heard coming from the direction of Bourbon Street, yet there was no one to be seen in any direction. His dreaming mind began to find this odd as he continued walking towards Jackson Square. Red, green, blue. He heard a voice whisper from somewhere ahead of him. The red makes you hate. The green makes you fake. The blue makes you... you. The voice repeated once more. Hello? Dalton called to the vacant streets before him. Somewhere roughly 2 blocks ahead of him, something moved. A vague human shape, perhaps. It moved quickly, almost appearing to float above the ground. Red, green, blue. He repeated again. The red makes you hate. The green makes you fate. The blue makes you... you. Dalton began to trot faster down the empty sidewalk. His slumbering mind fell into the logic that the dreamscape demanded. He'd walk past sloops of Sally Ports and observe the lights would either be red, green, or blue. He didn't question this as odd. Jackson Square was getting closer. Dalton walked past a window and stopped to observe 2 human silhouettes. They appeared to be 2 adults talking. As he continued to watch, his eyes went wide as the entire window suddenly went red. No! Don't look! Dalton screamed. But the dream did not respond to the pleas. Instead, the man watched as one of the silhouettes brandished a knife and stabbed the other over and over again in the chest. Then the window went black. Dalton continued walking and once again heard the familiar chant. Red, green, blue. Red makes you hate. Green makes you fake. And blue makes you... you. Dalton finally arrived. Sitting in the center of the square was one single booth. Similar to the tarot readers that frequently set up shop there, on the table was a single burning. A figure was behind the table, its head down, its identity unclear. Dalton raced over in frozen terror. The figure looked up. It was Simon, his face demolished on one side, a huge gaping hole oozing blood on the back of his head. It was as if someone had taken him from the scene of his murder and propped him up in a chair. Only, he was alive. Dalton, how are you, partner? Simon, I'm so sorry. Oh, you mean this? The ghoul responded, and began to dig his fingers into the exit hole in his face. Not so bad, being dead, Dalton. Not so bad at all. I just wish you didn't have to feel the pain all the time. I always imagined being dead would be painless. But shit, man, my head hurts. Simon. Dalton, this isn't like you. Sit down, let me read your fortune. I don't want to. Sit! The wasted monster screamed, and Dalton looked down to see a chair was now available for him. Okay, sorry, I hate to see you this way. Ah, Dalt, you're breaking my heart. I mean, here I am with half my face sliding off, and you're bothered by it. I'm so sorry that my pain's causing you to have a bad day. Let's see what the future holds for Citizen Dalton Bradshaw. Simon dealt out 3 cards. As Dalton predicted, one was solid red, one was solid green, and the last one, solid blue. Now, Dalton, what does the red mean? The red makes you hate. Very good. And what does the green mean? The green makes you fake. Are almost done. What does the blue mean? The blue makes you. By George, I think he's got it. Simon, what does any of this mean? Help me. Dalton, I'm a figment of your mind. I can't tell you anything you don't already know. But I don't know any of this color stuff. I only know the little girl told me that Sawyer played some sort of color game, but I don't know what it means. Clearly you do. If this is new information for you, you'd best wake up and find out how you got it. The dream began to collapse around Bradshaw, and he felt the sensation of his senses gathering, becoming real once again as the nightmarish scene of Jackson Square began to fade. Simon returned to chanting the colors, and continued to do so as Dalton returned to the world of the waking. He sat up in the bed that he'd shared with Sherry for the last few weeks. His face was sweaty and he was breathing hard. He looked over to his left and saw his bedroom companion was not in her normal spot. As he continued to come back to the waking world, he realized something else as well. The chanting that had accompanied his dream was still repeating. Red, green, blue. The red makes you hate. The green makes you fake. The blue makes you. Dalton rolled off the bed and stood up. Something was going on. The voice was repeating from somewhere out in Sherry's hall. He didn't have his gun here, and as far as he could tell, there was nothing too useful in this room. He'd have to rely on his wits and fists in this situation. Slowly, Dalton crept towards the bedroom door. This scenario reminded him too much of the situation in his apartment 2 days before Simon would be shot, and he'd be fired. Only this time, the intruder wasn't hiding. He wanted to call out for Sherry, but if there was something dangerous, he didn't want to tip the apple cart by startling anything. Dalton was relieved that the door connecting the bedroom and hallway were wide open, so at least he wouldn't have to go through the obstacle of opening it. Slowly, he peered into the hallway. There was enough light from the city streets that he could make out yet another similar scene. Standing in the hallway was a human-shaped figure, much like the one from his apartment. This one, too, seemed to stand too far off the ground. Another dummy? A coat rack? He asked himself. The recorded voice continued to spill out, seeming to come more from the center of the figure than where the mouth should be. Another game? Another attempt to freak me out? His mind asked. The street light from outside cast enough light for Dalton to see the light switch at the wall of the hallway. He pondered as to whether or not they'd come in and fooled around with the lights as they did in his apartment. He didn't want to sit here in the dark all night and figure it out. In one quick move, Dalton lunged forward and flipped the switch. The lights came on this time. And what Dalton found standing before him was not a mannequin, but rather the remains of a young woman with sea life tattoos covering her arms and a tape recorder hanging around her neck. From the recorder played the same message over and over. Red, green, blue. Dalton's eyes grew wide as he raced forward, grasping the body hanging from the coat rack. Her arms had been twisted and bound in such a way that she propped upon the fixture like an old piece of clothing. "Sherry!" he screamed as he pulled her down from the rack. Her body was limp and lifeless. "Baby, please, please be all right. You're gonna be fine. Come on, baby, open your eyes, please." However, despite all of his pleading, the young, vibrant woman he'd known from before, the same woman who'd helped him cope with the last few chaotic weeks of his life, was now just a corpse. "Who did this to you? Who did this to you?" he cried as he grasped her body, his face buried in her hair. The recorder continued to play its apathetic eulogy as the man crumbled into an abyss of grief. The police were called and reports were filed. Questions were asked over and over. Crime scene investigators did their thing within the small apartment. As this took place, Dalton sat in the office of Francis Lombardi, current watch commander for the 8th Precinct, New Orleans Police Department. Dalton knew Lombardi well, had worked with him for years before leaving the NOPD. "If you're worried you're a suspect, don't be," he told Dalton. "Wouldn't care. Fucking fry me at this point." "I'm tired, Francis." "I hear that. Lost your position out there in Mandeville. Whole mess over here makes me actually glad to be working in the city, not in the suburbs for once. It's connected." "So you've told me. You think that mess out over on River Road with the 2 actors is connected too, right?" "Yeah." "Makes me wish you were still one of my cops, Dalton. Doing a lot more here than you were out over there." "Well, I think I'm done with police work. 2 people that I care about have been killed in the last month. Fucking toxic." "I would say you're lucky. Lots of good people are dead in connection with this mess. You're still walking. It says a lot." "Mandeville's turning a blind eye to all this. The Hardy, the bastard. He knows what's going on and just gives me a little press releases and hides behind his desk. This is what we get for it. Good people dead." "Well, we're not turning a blind eye. 2 actors, they killed in Jefferson Parish, so that falls on those guys to investigate, but your girl, Miss Willis, she was murdered on my watch. We're not going to shovel snow on this, Dalton. If there's a way to solve it, we'll do it." Dalton smiled weakly. "Too bad Drexy isn't still on the job. He'd have dug into this. I miss that guy." "It makes 2 of us. Either way, we got CSI going through every thread of her apartment. We're looking at all the city surveillance cameras to see who came and went down from that apartment building during the time that you fell asleep and the time you woke and found her. I'm also going to reach out to the state attorney general's office tomorrow and see what I can get done about this other stuff you told me. This Dr. Sawyer, for example. If Mandeville is going to cover this all up, I'll have to shine some light on it myself." "Good luck with that. Look, I appreciate everything you're doing, and I'll cooperate with anything you want. But I got no faith in the system anymore. They seem to have every angle covered out there." "Dalton, we got a spare bedroom in my place. I know Denise would love to see you again. If you want to. You're welcome to stay in my place for a few nights. I can't pretend to understand the darkness you're in right now, but I know it helps to be around other people. You haven't seen my kids since they were starting middle school. Janice is going into her senior year of high school, and..." "Francis, thank you, really. I just want to get home. I've been back in my place in Mandeville in almost a week." "You sure?" "I know what I need right now, and it's some quality alone time. If you need me for anything, call. If you decide I'm prime suspect, just send some guys over to blow my fucking brains out. Save me the trouble of doing it myself. Plus, I'm Catholic, so you know. If I do it myself, I'll go to hell." "Dalton, shake my hand, Francis," Bradshaw stated as he stood to his feet. Francis Lombardi did as he was asked, and watched as a very broken man exited his office. About an hour later, he pulled into the small parking lot of his apartment complex. He saw the adjoining apartment was still apparently vacant, given the lack of blinds in the windows and the clearly empty rooms within. Given his current mood, if killers showed up to take him out tonight, he would likely lie down and tell them where to start cutting. Dalton unlocked the door to his apartment and stepped inside. He immediately realized that something was very, very wrong. His television was turned on, and it seemed that every light in the place was going. He shifted his gaze from left to right. To the left was the short hallway containing his bedroom. To the right was the kitchen. He could see most of it, but there was a narrow blind spot at the counter, stovetop area. The volume of the television was turned up very high, and the man struggled to try and hear any movement to indicate where the intruders may be. Dalton's gun was still stashed in the bedroom behind the bed, essentially useless to him in this current situation. Instead, Dalton positioned the longest key on his keyring between the knuckles of his pointer and index finger, and began to move slowly through the apartment. His eyes were mainly on the bedroom, as that would be the prime hiding spot. Suddenly, his ears detected a metallic sound from the kitchen's blind spot. He froze. The noise came again. The sound of metal being dragged across the ceramic countertop. His mind imagined a knife, long and sharp, picked from his own kitchen and aimed right at his back. He glanced at the television, and with the luck of the devil caught the scene just as one commercial transitioned into another, causing the screen to momentarily go black, providing a perfect mirror. In that moment, he saw the knife. He saw the outline of the intruder. They were right behind him. He knew that he was a goner, but would be damned if he allowed someone to take him out so blindly like that without some sort of fight. Clutching the keys he'd crafted into a makeshift weapon, Dalton turned on his heels and in one quick motion raised his hand ready to strike. Mr. Dalton, it's about time you came home. You know, it's really irresponsible to leave a child unattended like this. Dalton let the keys drop to the floor, feeling a mixed sense of relief and rage. Standing before him, holding a butter knife in one hand and what appeared to be a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in the other, was Nina Hopkins. She walked around him and dropped onto the couch as though nothing out of the ordinary was going on at all. The relief broke, and Dalton felt the rage flow uncontrolled. He went with it. "What the fuck are you doing in my house?" he screamed at the girl. "Well, eating a sandwich and watching Hell's Kitchen at the moment. Gordon Ramsay is sort of my crush." Dalton ran over to the wall and pulled the power cable from the television, bringing on a silence that was soothing, but doing little to dissipate the anger he was feeling. "Okay. Why? Why the fuck are you in my house?" "First of all, I was in the middle of watching that. Now I'm gonna miss who wins the Taste It, Now Make It challenge. Second, the word you're searching for is please. As in, Nina, please tell me why you're in my house." "You listen to me. I don't have to say please to some little fucking kid that breaks into my place when I'm away, and I don't have anywhere to go, all right, Mr. Dalton?" For a moment, he looked at her face, looked into her eyes, and saw a very human element of distress there. Regardless of the stories he's heard about her, she was a child. He wanted to drag her out of his apartment and deposit her at the nearest police station, and perhaps he would have. But he was so damn tired. He had no energy to deal with anything beyond yelling, and he was starting to believe that yelling was not the solution here. Instead, he sat across from her. "What do you mean you don't have anywhere to go? What about the youth center, Mrs. Hayes?" "They hate me there. They think I'm a monster. I heard Miss Hayes on the phone when she was talking about me. She kept calling me little psycho. She exaggerated that story about Danielle, too. Yeah, I stuck her with needles, but they were just like little safety pins, not knitting needles. You gotta admit, Mr. Dalton, knitting needles would have likely killed someone." "Yeah, I just thought that was bad writing at first." "I can't go back to my parents. I can't go back to Mrs. Hayes. So I came here." "How do you know where I live?" Mrs. Hayes had your information in her office. Sorry for breaking into your house. I don't have anywhere to go. Dalton thought. She's fucking playing, you idiot. Putting on a little sympathy routine to get her way. You can't let her stay here. Not just because she's a runaway, but also because she's a manipulator. She wants something, and you know she's playing you for it. Please? She asked. I can cook. I make great sandwiches. I was allowed to help in the kitchen so I can make other stuff. I'll clean and take out the trash and... Nina, I'm sorry, but it just doesn't work this way. You got to call Miss Hayes and let her know where you are. I know you don't want to go back to the group home, but it's where you belong. Dalton watched as Nina's facial expression changed almost instantly. The sad little girl vanished, and what remained warped quickly into a face of sly knowing and controlled spite. He was taken aback for a moment by the sheer raw emotion on such a young child. Her eyes, though, never changed. They remained focused and determined. Okay, fine. Call Miss Hayes. Send me back. But you didn't let me finish because maybe you don't care about me cooking or cleaning. But if you let me stay here, I can lead you straight to Dr. Sawyer. Sawyer's not in hiding. I can go find him anytime I want. The only holdup has been in getting the right paperwork. Boring! Nina interrupted. Sawyer doesn't care if you arrest him, Mr. Dalton. He's dying. I know that. That's why he retired. I asked him once, right before he helped me get out of the hospital, what if he ever got in trouble for something that Vickers and Antoine might do, and he told me that he'll be long dead before he ever served the first day of his prison sentence. Dalton scanned her face for signs of a lie, but so far couldn't tell. She continued. But I can get you to him. He'll still talk to me if I ask him. I won't need any fancy warrant to get him to talk. I could show you where he does other stuff too. I know where the real Jeff's Killer's hangout is, and it isn't Shortcut Road. In many ways, Dalton was relieved at the sense of excitement he felt over the possibilities of a new lead in this. Before he opened his front door and found this girl hiding in his apartment, he was ready to lie down and die. He felt that the death of Simon and then Sherry would have taken it all out of him, but here he was, feeling like a cop again. Maybe there was a way to make this work. Nina, if you know these things, you have to tell me. Please. I'll be happy to, Mr. Dalton, but only if you let me stay here with you. Dalton stared forward for a moment, looking beyond Nina, allowing his exhausted mind to cycle through options. Okay, I'll have to talk to Miss Hayes. She has to at least know where you are. If she's okay with this, I'll think about it. But you have to help me get Sawyer. No riddles, no crap. Do what I tell you, and help me get that bastard. And this isn't permanent. You can stay here a few days, but you will have to go back to the youth home soon. Deal? Nina's face suddenly became joyful in such a way that no one would believe she could possess the ability to commit any act of violence. Deal! Yes! Oh, thank you, Mr. Dalton. I promise you won't regret this. I'll help you, and you'll be a great cop again. Before Dalton could speak any further, Nina walked around him and plugged the television back in. The booming voice of Gordon Ramsay filled the room. The British chef screamed at some contestant or another. What are you, a fucking idiot? Dalton looked over at Nina, sitting on the couch, eating his food and laughing with glee, and answered Ramsay's question. Yep. I am one fucking idiot. Hey there kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta, and I just wanted to tell you thank you so much for watching tonight's video. Or listening to tonight's podcast on the podcast, if you're listening to that there at Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or wherever you could happen to listen to podcasts. I wanted to remind you guys also that my wife sells loose leaf tea at etsy.com/shop/ivory monocle tea. She has different teas, including Creepypasta teas, and you can get a Mr. Creepypasta tea. If you ask for a dabbing sticker, she also has those. And of course, I wanted to give a big thank you to everyone who checks out patreon.com/MrCreepyPasta and supports the show, keeps the light on, gives me treats for my now 2 cats, both Hylas and Hercules. Both of them are a handful. And especially a big thank you to Saha, Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Mazikeen, Ken Lando Higuchi, Chompski, Nico kaeo, Tristain Pelton, Stephen VanHuss, Chance Burnett, Diana Kraus, G. Weevil 3, TheRedOakShieldVirus, Hades' Nephew, Carter Barenfanger, Dr. Strawberry, Jordan Wayne Deckard, Bradney Leipe, The Government Monitoring System, Anne Charron, rumblefox, AcidSystem, Mike Bullock, Raphael Rodriguez, Dan Sweet, Mad Marstomp, Prozac and Pancake Appreciation Society, Sean Mills, Brian Arce, Cryptic Nightmares, Shadow Morningstar, Somber Puppet, Brianna Wright, Someone You Love, Said the King 56, Bad Honey, S-Man, Kiri the Sloth, Patrick Schoolmeister, Thomas Burgett, Barbara Maceo, Bobby Carmen, Liam Newman, The Homeless Bird 93, Sky Harbor, Caleb Dougal, Last Blade Song, Eliminator 86, The Ginger Bros, Aaron Stormcrow, and Corey X Kenshin. A big thank you to all of you guys and everybody down there in the description. I really can't thank you guys enough for supporting the show. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And everybody who listens, sweet dreams.